The family reunion was the most exciting part of the journey, as I could not wait to meet my brothers. I grew up with this letter, and it would be amazing to speak to each one of them. Just being in the same room would be a dream come true. So many emotions were building up inside. That grandfather could be my father. One of the two sons could be as well was the reality. No one seemed to know. The latter just made my heart ache, because it was as if my whole life and story was a lie. The most amazing thing that I had come to learn was I planned to have been in this family. But after the sudden passing of my grandpa in 1982, my grandmother decided that I would be adopted out. Her motives was that she was sick, and that I deserved to have a better life and better opportunities than what I would have had in Indonesia. What I'm dealing with now is that my grandmother requested she did not want anything to do with me, but only wished me happiness in my new life. This part of the story is shrouded with confusion. The reality that only Bertha knows the truth and the meaning why I departed. My parents in Australia could not imagine a life without me in their life in so many ways that the cards that I was dealt were meant to be. But to know where I came from will help silence some personal anxieties. All we do know is Bertha identified herself as my grandma, not my mother. This is a mystery, and I'll leave those who are following this story the opportunity to make up their own mind. I was the final Indonesian child to be adopted to Australia after my adoption. The agency's agreement broke down soon after, and my adoption process was closed in 1983. My grandma had stomach cancer, and my Australian parents helped pay the balance owing for her medical costs. What amazed me was that Bertha lived for 29 years and passed away in 2012, 29 years after I had left, and meanwhile thought she would be dead. My orphanage I went to also had closed down, and I grew up with no leads or information. I had the names on the letter, but when speaking to a niece, she began to share photos of the grave and various pictures of my parents in the Surabaya Christian cemetery. To see this for the first time back in Australia, my mouth sank into my heart. This was my grandmother's final resting place. To look at the grave, seeing the names, and identifying their surname as Prajogo meant so much. I was clearly growing some leads and realised that my surname was left off the adopted papers, as identified the Prajogo clearly marked on the tombstone. Visiting the grave was a surreal experience. I stood proud, but at the same time I felt a complete stranger with no memories or connection. It began too difficult to fight back the tears by showing the respect at the grave. This is where my mother and father laid. I knew they would be proud of me standing in front of them. I felt their presence with me, their own tears of joy and happiness. This is too become such a sacred place that I will personally honour, as well thank for all the opportunities I have been given in life.